What a week we've had. Unprecedented, some may say. More Supreme Court judgments than ever recorded in Nigeria's history in one election event. Governors of Lagos, Kano, Zamfara, Ebonyi, Plateau, Abia, Cross River and Bauchi are able to sleep easy, so to speak, after these judgments. But the ripples continue. What is so wrong with our electoral process that we have to rely on court judgments to determine who won an election that is supposed to be a celebration of democracy? Also, did the law take its course in these judgments, or did they serve to calm frayed nerves? And if you're a skeptic, you're probably wondering if these very grateful governors, especially those from opposition parties, will be able to stand firm as the opposition in the wake of these judgments. But that's not all that's going on in our very vibrant political space. There's talk of a new coalition political party type thing. The suspension of the Humanitarian Affairs Minister. National investment programs have been put on hold. President Bola Tinubu reduces travel costs for the presidency. And the concept of party ideologies and special purpose vehicles are front burner issues, following a major resignation from the Labour Party. Hello and welcome to Political Paradigm Live on Channels Television. I am Kayla Magwa. My guest on the program is Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, an actor, lawyer, columnist, former spokesperson, Labour Party's Obidati Presidential Campaign Organization, and business administration graduate from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. For the next hour, we will be discussing the state of the nation, the state of his party, and find out if this actor turned politician has some political ambitions of his own. Welcome to Political Paradigm, Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Nigerians, for joining in.
It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So let's get down to that. You've been talking quite a bit recently about a lot of things, but I'll get to your quotes on those things recently. Let's start off with one of the biggest stories out there, which is this coalition opposition party type thing. We're not quite sure how it's supposed to work out, but we did hear Mr. Patutomi, break it down for us, explain it in theory as to how this is supposed to work. But there are so many questions. Is it going to be a political party? What's it going to be called? Who's going to shelve whose ambition for the other? Your principal is a member of this coalition. When you found out about this, what were your thoughts? And what do you think about a coalition party? Many people have said, should Peter Obi shelve his ambition, as he was asked to do earlier in 2023? What are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that whoever advises Peter Obi to shelve his political ambition is doing it at the person's political peril. You can imagine a human being that went into another political party almost 3 months before the election, and he won 12 states, including the Federal Capital Territory. No other candidate won more than 12 states. No other candidate scored up to 25% in FCT. He's the only candidate that got 25% in the whole geopolitical zone. You know what? Peter Obi is the opposition leader.
But he is a part of a coalition right now.
Coalition is not a party. It is a platform to negotiate, to know whether there will be a party. In law, we'll call it invitation to treat. It's not yet a qualified offer. So it is simply a platform for negotiation. And in politics, dialogue is the acceptable way of achieving compromise and solution. So coalition is simply a platform for negotiation. It is not yet a political party. So you cannot say whether anybody is a member of any coalition.
If it does become a political party?
That's a hypothetical question.
If it does?
Then
we have seen this happen before.
Oh, yes.
It started like this.
Absolutely.
And then a party formed.
It is.
Even the ruling party started like this.
As a matter of fact, in a democracy, two parties will eventually be dominant. So it is not only advisable, it is desirable. So there's nothing wrong with that. But remember to ask me this question again when it eventually happens. Because now it's a hypothetical question. And I'm always very reluctant to answer hypothetical questions. In law, we call it an academic exercise. When it becomes a life issue, remember to ask me again.
So let's talk a bit about 2023. One of the questions people had about your principal was that he should have shelved his ambition. Put yourself down in the People's Democratic Party. You know, fly Atiku's flag. You may stand a chance. You may not become president, but you might become vice. And the idea really is to take power away from the ruling party. We stand a better chance as opposition if you shelve your ambition and just go under the People's Democratic Party. That conversation is coming up again as we prepare for 2027. You mentioned earlier that anyone who's advising him to do that is doing that at his own peril. So it's a bad idea, really, for Mr. Peter Obi to do that. But isn't it? Just think about it, Mr. Okonkwo. If he's able to, doesn't the opposition stand a better chance of wresting power away from the ruling party if some personal ambitions are put aside for a moment?
Well, it would have been more brilliant if you had just opposed your decision and made it appropriate. You should have been saying, if Atiku Abubakar had shelved his political ambition, and this is exactly why I'm saying this, he has contested for 6 times. Will he continue contesting forever? 2, he's above 70 years. The remaining part of his life is by the act of grace. 3, it is the time of the South by their own constitution, section 7(3)(c). 4.
You mean the constitution of the PDP?
Yes, section 7(3)(c). Power rotation, power shift. And Northerner has had it for 80 years. And it was the time to shift to the South. And the ruling party has keyed into that. Yet, you are in the opposition. Atiku Abubakar recognized that it was the turn of the Southeast to produce the president. Why usurp it? You can't go to equity with dirty hands. So you should have said, if Atiku Abubakar had done the right thing and shelved his ambition, today, PDP with Peter Obi would have been president. Let me tell you, before this time, the youths went to Wadata Plaza and they were screaming, "Give us Obi." It was out there in the PDP. And at a certain point, they thought money can buy everything. That is why PDP will never be a good opposition. Because you cannot outspend the ruling party. Because the ruling party has the power and resources. You know what Hayatuddin said about the Congress of PDP? When they had the convention to produce their primaries, he said he wasn't going to participate because it's obscenely monetized. You know what Peter Obi said in his resignation letter? He said, this platform can no longer provide me a viable vehicle for me to achieve the new Nigeria that I am looking for. You know what I say? I say a party that is, that has made itself susceptible to stomach infrastructure can never be a good opposition party. Look at what is happening there. All of them are going to kiss the ring. They are going to shake hands. Why? Stomach infrastructure, nothing else.
Are you referring to Daniel Bwala when you say that?
You have said so. So what I'm saying is, right from
but you said
the
that
leader,
you didn't mind. You said that you understood him going to see the president. I read your quotes afterwards.
No, I said there is nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong with it.
If the president commands you to see him, if the king of your place tells you to come and see him, wouldn't you go to see him? He would just call the Inspector General of Police and tell him this man is a terror threat. And they will carry you to the place. Yes, you may sue after. They will pay you the money, $100 million. But he has dragged you to see him because he is in charge of the security apparatus.
So when you say kiss the ring,
yes,
who's kissing the ring?
I am saying that politicians have the tendency, when their policy is stomach infrastructure, to always join the winning party after elections. So there's nothing surprising about it. So it is when such things happen that the true people who have the mind to fight for a new Nigeria starts emerging. Whatever is your intention will be tested. And then the trueness of the intention will manifest. I'm
going to get to kissing the ring in a bit, but I want to talk about these Supreme Court judgments on the governorship elections. Mm-hmm. You know, many skeptics have been a little bit worried. There's a lot of joy. We're seeing a lot of people happy. And the judgments were not for one party. We saw the NNPP, reserve power. We saw the PDP, reserve power as well. But many people have wondered, you know, with these sorts of judgments, there's a tendency for one to be really grateful. And the ability for a person who's very grateful to stand firm as opposition could be called to question. What do you make of that? You know, that situation. Is that something you agree with?
You know, it's very unfortunate that in Nigeria, people now become grateful when people do what they ought to do. And the reason is because people have gotten used to doing what they shouldn't do. So ordinarily what would have just been that they were doing their job, you are now grateful they did the right thing, is an indictment. And then you are now thanking the president for the job of the judiciary, another indictment. Because you're actually saying that if the president wanted, he would have directed the judiciary to rule in a particular manner.
I mean, not to cut you, but that's actually where the skepticism comes from.
That's what I'm saying.
The idea that afterwards they went to thank Mr. President as though he had something
to
do with the judgment.
Very ridiculous. It's like the Supreme Court of the United States of America giving a judgment. And then you go to thank Joe Biden for making you to have favorable judgment in the Supreme Court. Is that not absurd? That's by the way.
Or maybe it's just good manners, maybe.
No.
Mr. Okonkwo. Maybe it's just good manners.
No, it's not good manners. It is bad manners. Good. Because you are actually confirming that the executive is in charge of the judiciary. You have negated the principle of separation of power and checks and balance. But that's by the way. Let's come to the Supreme Court judgment. If you say you are grateful to Supreme Court, as odd as it is still acceptable. Because from where I come from, even when you do what you're supposed to do, and that is where I will accept good manners from you, you can still say thank you. As a lawyer, even when the judges finish their judgment, you thank them because they took the spirit, it took the spirit of industry for them to actually sit down and write. So you thank them for their hard work. Now, after that judgment, did you notice there was peace and joy throughout Nigeria? Meanwhile, it was the opposition that won. Did you notice anything from the ruling party saying the judgment is this or that? You know why? The melody of justice will always be better than the malfeasance of corruption. It is obvious. They ruled, they judged according to the law, according to the dictates of justice. The Supreme Court was even miffed by what the Court of Appeal did. And I'll tell you, because let's really concentrate on Plateau and Kano. In Plateau State, the major thing was that the Court of Appeal was latching on a court judgment and saying that there was a court judgment that said the structure of PDP was not proper, that they didn't have structure. And so going into the election with that judgment, disobeying court order, the whole thing is null and void. Now, and then they now said the next person should be governor. First of all, it's not the duty of the judiciary to impose leadership on the people in a democracy. It is the people. And whenever a judge wants to sit down to give judgment, He must balance his judgment with the tenet of democracy, that power should proceed from the people, not from the bench. Having said that, the court judgment, assuming without conceding that there was even a court order and PDP did not obey it. What was the court order directed at? It was the primary election of Governor Muftwang and all the legislative members. In other words, pre-election matter. Pre-election matter is matter concerned with the primary election. The political party is the party that organizes the primary election, not INEC, with the supervision or observation of INEC. Now, sitting on your right is one legitimate means of settling dispute. So, assuming without considering there was even an order, and no aspirant, because it is only an aspirant in that election or the political party that has the right to go to court to challenge a pre-election matter. So even if there was any court order as to that effect, and no aspirant went to court to challenge it, what it means is that the political party and the aspirant have sat down and say, we are okay with it. So as long as INEC has recognized the candidate, put it in their website, and then nobody, no aspirant challenges it, that ends it. So there is no business with the Court of Appeal to say there was a court order, because it's another political party who is bringing the issue, meddling with the affairs of another party. So when you talk about jurisdiction, you talk about the constitution of the court, you talk about the subject matter, then you talk about who is bringing it. That's what we call locus standi.
So you stand with the Supreme Court?
Absolutely.
On all the judgments?
Yeah.
On all the judgments?
On, we said, let's talk about Plateau, then Kano. Yes. So I just wanted to treat the issue of the order of courts. Because when the Court of Appeal made, made a lot of, I don't want to use the word noise, because they are, learned jurists, and I'm a lawyer. When they made a lot of, however you want to say it, about court order. Good. It was a pre-election matter. And the position of the law is that pre-election matter, the tribunal, the Court of Appeal, they do not have jurisdiction to talk about it. So that's by the way. Now, in Kanu, there are other issues they treated in Plateau, but this is the major one that, everybody is talking about. In Kanu, apart from they are also meddling in the pre-election matter, which is the membership of the Kano State Governor, of NMPP, which they do not have any jurisdiction to do. We have talked about it as it relates to Plateau. They still made the same mistake in Kano. But the major thing about Kano is that there was this issue that they say 165,000 votes do not have official mark. And as such, the first court nullified it and then declared the other person winner. And surprisingly, Court of Appeal agreed with them when the clear provision of Section 63 is very clear that if there is no official mark and the returning officer accepts that the ballot paper came from the booklet of ballot papers given to the presiding officer, that settles it. The ballot paper should be counted. Clear provision. And INEC was there to say, it is us. We don't have a problem with it. So on what basis will you now rule that the governor should not, that the vote should not be counted? So this travesty of justice of the lower court was admirably corrected by the Supreme Court, and they delivered judgment based on justice. And
pointed out, by the way, they pointed out this.
That it's perverse, that they did a lot of injustice. You see, why they say that an errant judge is dangerous. Look at the injustice now meted out to all the assembly members. Because the Court of Appeal is the highest court.
Well, let's see if we can take a look at some other of the other judgments. I mean, you have taken your time to talk about
Plateau. Yes, you can bring any other judgment.
And then you've also talked about Kano.
Yes.
But I want you to be able to talk about other places as well, like especially like a place in a place like Abia State, you know, where Alex Oti is also having a very good time right now. The Lagos State governor, you know, and quite a number of other judgments across the country. So you're okay with Plateau and Kano. Are you okay with the others?
You see, you cry blue murder when a judgment is manifestly twisted. But if you can find a way out of good reasoning, then you would have to concede to the fact that it is the duty of the judiciary to interpret the law.
Lagos.
In case of Abia,
Lagos
ought not to have even gone whatsoever.
Yes. So Lagos.
Yes.
What of Lagos?
Now, the issue of Lagos, they were still talking about qualification, citizenship, you know, this, and that, and some details. So I would say, as the Supreme Court has given judgment on that, so be it.
So be it.
Yes. It's not, you cannot begin to put it in line with the Plateau and Kano that you can see that is terrible, perverse judgment. Yes, there could be judgment that may not be perfect, but you cannot say perverse. And when it is not really a new thing completely. In Plateau State, it was a new thing. It's a recondite issue of law. In Kano, it was a new thing. These two issues I distilled. They are novel. They've not been tried before. So the courts, the most important thing is that the judiciary should be very careful. Do you know why you have too many cases in court? For two reasons. Because of the incompetence, corruption of INEC, and because of lack of assurance in the citizens that they will get justice if they go to court. You'll be surprised.
That actually brings me to my next question, which has to do with, you know, the conversation about judicial interference in our political system. We started hearing things like Supreme Court governor and things like that recently, and you know, it raised a lot of eyebrows. But we have seen now that this is unprecedented. It's the first time that one particular election event needed so many Supreme Court judgments. And one of the conversations coming out from that is that this is an indictment on our electoral system. What is so wrong with the electoral system that we now have to get to, and it's going to get worse. You know, with Nigeria, well, things don't get smaller.
No,
it might get worse.
If there is a you know, is it a prophet or professor? If there is a Professor Mahmood sitting on INEC, not that it's going to get worse, it is worst. There's nothing you can do about it. Did we not graduate from technical glitch in the presidential election to pre-fill the results in the off-cycle election? There is nothing Mahmoud can do about it. He's irredeemable. So I agree with you that if the man is there, it's a waste of time to go for any election except you have been selected.
Some people say it's the actors. No. They say it's the political actors that are the problem.
That is absolute nonsense.
You don't agree?
No, it's not that I don't agree. It's absolute nonsense. Why?
Who is bringing pre-filled results?
No,
who is committing all the crimes? It's political actors.
Okay, good. Do you blame armed robbers for what is happening, or do you blame the security for not preventing armed robbery? Now, tell me the law. Just give me one law where they say it's the politicians that organize election, that undertake election. So you want politicians to go and do what is right. Every politician in America would rig election if the electoral body does not live up to its bidding. The job and the aim of the politician is to win. It is the umpire that must state the rules and compel everybody to keep the rules. In 2011, and 2015, we had the least number of cases in court because of what the electoral umpire did. It was still with these same politicians that those elections were conducted. In 2015, there was no presidential petition at all. In 2011, it was reduced to the barest minimum. Will the politicians do their work and do the work for INEC? Who is saying that? A politician will come and offer you anything that you want. Those people that are transferring the pre-filled result, are they doing it free of charge? They were compromised. There is no way with the laws we have now you can ever rig our election without the complicity of INEC. Who gave them the electoral results that they are pre-filling? It is arrant nonsense to call the name of a politician, because the job of a politician is to win. The job of INEC is to conduct, undertake, and organize elections.
So apart from accusing them of complicity, what else are they doing wrong?
They are corrupt.
So it's complicity.
And incompetence. And corruption. You can help me with more words. But I want to tell you that from today, anybody that is accusing any politician of anything in the election is absolutely ignorant. And when we give INEC such cover, we are simply making them merciless. You have division of... You just said when I said, how can you be thanking the president for the job of the judiciary? So how can you be blaming the politicians for the job of INEC? No. INEC is solely responsible. They collected 400 billion naira to conduct 2023 election. How many politicians collected that amount to conduct election? And you're saying, politician? Excuse me. Professor Mahmood is 100% responsible for everything that is happening in our election. And he should be held 100% responsible. If he cannot do it, let him step down. It is his duty. First of all, let me tell you what you do. You plan. By setting out your objectives as an INEC chief, you organize. By employing competent hands to man those areas, you direct. By providing leadership and supervision, you control. By measuring your objectives with the results you have achieved.
I mean,
determining the deviations.
You've made quite a lot of...
Determining the reasons for the deviations.
You've made quite a lot of claims
Then bringing out solutions to make sure that the deviations don't happen again. This is management.
You've made quite a lot of claims today, basically putting our election umpire on blast, you know, and you did mention some figures, you know, you talked about, you know, how much money, you know,
absolutely,
you know, but the thing is, we also have to think about the conscience of a people. Isn't that something that because you said, should we blame politicians for what INEC is supposed to be doing?
Absolutely.
But politicians are Nigerians, aren't they?
Sure. So
shouldn't we be able to hold politicians to account? Politicians are not armed robbers. These are people that we put in elective office. Good. Don't they have the responsibility, Mr. Okonkwo?
Yes.
Don't they have the responsibility to be decent humans? You don't think that someone is labeled a politician, does that mean the person is an indecent person? Are you an indecent person? You are a politician as well, not so?
Good. Let me make it clear. Nigerians do not vote in armed robbers. INEC imposed armed robbers through technical glitch on Nigerians or pre-filled results. Nigerians, and they demonstrated it in 2023, where they voted according to their conscience. I was in that campaign, and I knew we didn't give people money. I knew everybody worked as volunteer. And yet, they technically glitched our election.
Well, I'm going to get to that in a bit. You know, we do have to talk about that a little bit more. But I want to talk about your party in the run-up to 2027. You know, something happened recently in your party, of course, and you've been very vocal, very upset even about this situation. Yeah. And it's the resignation of Mr. Okonkwo. And two words that have become popular since Mr. Okonkwo resigned from your party: special purpose vehicle and party ideology. Now, when it comes to the Labour Party, I'm going to get to the ideology of the Labour Party. What do you stand? Because what he said was, what I stand for, they don't stand for that. And based on that, I have resigned. You have been very upset about that and the phrase special purpose vehicle being used for the Labour Party. Why does it rub you so wrongly, Mr. Okonkwo? If someone decided that my thinking process or my ideology, haven't we been asking politicians to have ideologies? Haven't we been asking political parties to stand on ideologies? If someone has decided that this is a different ideology from mine and I do not want to be here anymore, why would that make the person someone that you're very upset with? What's the problem?
Well, maybe obviously you did not hear that interview. The first thing I said is that I wished him well.
That was the first thing you said?
Absolutely.
Then you went on
to
say other things.
It was his fundamental human right. I said I had problem with his choice of words. And that is where you call the special purpose vehicle. Because the only thing I know, and I don't know why people of that his age like special purpose vehicle. I don't like it.
Oh, we've heard this. You even said it in the beginning of this interview. A political party is a vehicle. It is a means to an end.
You just said vehicle.
Yes.
I didn't say special purpose.
But it is a means to an end. No, if a party is a means to an end,
let me tell you
why are you upset that they called it a special, they even gave it a special status?
Yes.
Special vehicle.
Yes, because when you say vehicle simplicity, you are using it in the English sense.
A conveyor.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. When you say special purpose vehicle, you begin to remind Nigerians what popularized that word. Like I recalled, when Michael Achimogu or something exposed one tape, he said the presidential candidate of PDP told him that they established companies as special purpose vehicles through which they siphon money through consultancy contract award. So, Doyin Okupe, being aware of this,
using that phrase,
it is demeaning to him, especially when he knows that, rightly or wrongly, he was convicted. So, I don't know why people of that age do like that special purpose vehicle. And it's still happening even in this regime. The same humanitarian affairs ministry is now another special purpose vehicle to carry money through the same consultancy services award. So that's why I said, no, I don't like that word, special purpose vehicle. But if the people of that age, if they like it so much, we can give them the copyright and let them have it. But Labour Party that I know is committed to building a new Nigerian personality. This is what is in their objective. That will be altruistic, that will be patriotic, and that will be committed selflessly to building a new nation. In their objective, I saw it before I entered, but principally, if you had my first interview, when I resigned from APC, I said I was obicentric. Meaning, I have seen a politician with the accurate agenda I am looking for that can give me the new Nigeria I'm fighting for. And I'm willing to follow him. Obicentric means centered on Obi.
So that
I did not intend to be a member of a political party. No, political party.
Okay.
But when I was promoting Obi, I was still reminded that on the election day, you will not see an Obi there. It is Labour Party that you will see. When the Labour Party came calling, and it made tremendous reasoning to me. If you're promoting Obi and you're not promoting the platform, you're wasting your time. There is no independent candidacy. So I needed to promote both of them. And that is why Obi cannot be divested from Labour Party or the other way around. And indeed, even by the letter of Doyin Okukwe. He said Labour Party was not burdensome to them, meaning they didn't ask Shishi. That is the way we should go. That is integrity on its own. Now, when you say ideological differences, which one? I do not see clear-cut ideological difference in all the political parties. Sorry.
What about between the Labour Party and the PDP?
You don't understand. What I see is politicians who have different agenda.
Are you saying that the Labour Party in ideology does not differ from the PDP?
I say there's no clear cut. If you still go to PDP, go to APC, go to Labour, you still see some similarities, both in their constitution. You check the structure. Just check the structure. You have National Convention.
So you think Mr.
You have
Mr. Kupe's claims are bogus?
You have NWC.
His claim of a difference in ideology, you think it's bogus? You don't believe this?
It makes you to appear as if you are an opportunist. Because saying you enter the party just to win or lose the election is not a good thing. So I'm saying that if I were in his shoes and I wanted to resign, I would just resign. One word. I wish to resign for personal reasons. Chicken.
Okay, well, you did.
So I wish him well. You know, since he resigned, he did not take us into the election. So since he resigned, he did not participate in any other thing we're done. It was only once I saw him when he was coming out of private jets.
Wait, since he resigned, what do you mean?
Yes, no. Since he stepped down as, he resigned first as the DG.
Yes.
Good. So since he resigned as the DG,
okay,
there was no other activity he ever participated in Labour Party. That's why I said he constructively actually left the party then. The only time I saw him was when he was coming out of the plane with the APC gubernatorial candidate in Ogun State. That was the only time I saw him publicly. I can't remember seeing him.
Are you accusing him of
No, I'm not.
The APC,
No, I'm not.
You're sure?
No, he just resigned. He has not joined any place. Yes, but the only place I saw him,
the only place you saw him
was coming out from the plane. With the APC. I think they went to commission one project or something. So.
You would have to answer for that later. But I wanted to be able to talk, a little bit about the Labour Party in itself. The Labour Party kind of fashioned itself out to be this movement of the people, movement of young people especially. And yes, anyone who wants to deny that should feel free to do so. Yeah. But, we did see that momentum. With everything that's happened since the 2023 general elections, court judgments, divisions in your party, court cases as a result of divisions in your party, Mr. Okupe's resignation, whether you think it matters or not. And of course, this talk now about a coalition which Peter Obi is a part of. With all of this going on, do you think that the Labour Party still has that momentum that it did back then?
It has greater momentum now.
Greater momentum?
Absolutely. I am telling you, because Obi has more followers. As a matter of fact, he is now...
You see, that's something I've noticed in this conversation, Mr. Kenneth.
No.
I will say,
in Ghana,
Labour Party, you will say Obi.
You're sure?
Is there a difference between Labour Party and Obi?
No. You should know better than myself that whoever is the presidential candidate is regarded as the leader of the party.
So you're saying the Labour Party and Peter Obi have more supporters now? Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's one. Secondly, there's no division in Labour Party. Not one. And if you call me any day, I will prove it.
To differ, sir.
Can you differ? Starting from you.
Let me start. Let me give you the arguments against it.
Go ahead.
First of all, remember the court case between the two different heads of the party?
Who and who?
You know this.
I am a lawyer.
Yes.
So that it's not as if I
Are you saying that there has never been a division in the Labour Party?
There has never been any court case between any leader of this side, maybe faction, and this side. Quote me on that.
Okay.
None. And I say, ask me the question. I have said it now openly. I am saying it. Tell me the leader you have in mind. Tell me the case he has in court. Tell me whether he's a party to that case.
So what really happened with Apapa and Abure?
Good. There is no court case anywhere in Nigeria.
I have heard this school of thought. That was why I didn't want to mention that name.
Where you have Apapa as a plaintiff and Abure as a defendant. And quote me as a lawyer.
There is no case like that.
There is no case like that. If there is any, bring it on.
Okay. So absolute unity in the Labour Party.
Oneness.
Haven't done anything
There
wrong.
will always be political charlatans. Have you ever seen a place where you have only two people?
Are there political charlatans in the Labour Party?
There are political charlatans everywhere in Nigeria.
Are there in the Labour Party? Are they there?
I said everywhere in Nigeria. Labour Party is part of Nigeria. Everywhere. Singing hallelujah to the leaders, even when the leader is cursing their mother.
If you insist, if you want to go this route, let's do this.
No, I have told you, if there is any court case
because you see,
between that man and Julius Abure, bring it on.
If the party does not address,
yes.
In truth,
yes.
if these, because there are actual divisions,
hold
Mr.
on,
Kenneth
my dear,
Okonkwo,
hold on.
If these things are not
yes.
addressed, and if solutions and
yes.
reconciliation doesn't happen, how are you going to position yourself for 2027?
Very good. Now, we just finished 2023. How many of their purported candidates ever was recognized by the court as genuine? Do you know they went to Supreme Court? And our candidates were not even party to it. And yet Supreme Court told them to get out your medicine in interlopers. So even you're mentioning that there's a faction, you're being contemptuous of the court orders and judgment of court.
No, we didn't say that.
And let me tell you,
we didn't say that they were. We didn't say that they were.
They went to.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
We said that there was an impasse.
No,
there was an impasse. We didn't say that there was.
I had faction from your mouth, but you have the right to withdraw.
You did not say faction. I refuse to agree.
They went
we
to.
Did not say
they went to Bini.
We said that there was an impasse in your
party.
They
went to Bini.
Okay, so you had
extort money.
So you're now explaining to us the things that you said didn't happen.
No, I said there are political charlatans everywhere. That's what I regard. That's what I refer to them.
So you're referring now to the political charlatans
I've
that were in the
said
Labour
that.
Party.
I've always said that.
Okay. So what happened when they went to Benin?
They went to extort people in the name of organizing a gubernatorial election. That's extortion. That is crime. As a matter of fact, you don't even understand. They don't even know that the citizens of Benin have the right to arrest them with reasonable force and hand them over to the police. And I'm talking about Section 39 of the Police Act. Anybody you catch committing crime in your presence, you have a duty as a citizen to apprehend that person and hand the person over to the police. They went there to extort people, even after the judgments of the court. Okay, in Imo State, will it please you to know that the Apapa faction organized their own faction? You see, the Labour Party youth leader organized his own faction.
So you said Apapa faction. So there's an Apapa faction.
No, not in Labour Party.
Let me write it down.
Apapa faction as in their political charlatanism. I'm not talking about Labour Party. Now, even the Labour Party purported youth leader organized his own gubernatorial election away from their Papa. And they were extorting money from people. Now, without even our candidate being a party to it, Supreme Court threw it out. Is that not extortion on those candidates? Should we leave them to be doing these things? No. If a man comes to your house and defecates, you use a stick and break his head. That is cultural from where I come from. Before you hand him over to the police. So if people are resisting extortion, it is legal. It is according to the law. Every citizen should help the security agencies to do what? To fight crime.
In positioning itself for 2027,
yes.
is this party the one that is going to wrestle power away from the All Progressives Congress in 2027? As is.
I am really very surprised.
As is, Kenneth Okonkwo. Is this the party that is going to do it as it is? Or are there things that need to be fixed? Let's look inwards. Are there things that need to be looked at? You don't think so? None at all?
When you introduced me, you did not add prophets to my name. How come you're asking me what will happen in 2027?
Well, if your party is moving towards... Look, we're looking at engaging electoral processes before, so we don't all get surprised.
I just told you that I support the idea of a coalition. And I told you it's a platform and it's negotiable. So we are negotiating, and there is no way I can tell you the result. So watch out the events. I wouldn't know how anything will turn out.
What would be ideal
what I know
for you? What would
is
be
that
ideal for you?
P2B is consistent in his fight for a new Nigeria, based on his 7-point agenda, which, if circumstances change, new things can be added. Before 2009 in Nigeria, we didn't have this kind of insurgency. Should he be pushing that 7-point agenda under the umbrella of the Labour Party? He's a member of Labour Party now. That's what he would do. That's what he will continue to do, except there is any new arrangement. I mean, is there a possibility of a new arrangement? Why not? Why not? How so? Change is the only thing that is constant. If all the other parties say they want to use Labour Party now as the platform, and PDP say we want to join the people, seeing that P2B is the best candidate to give us this election. Or the other way around, why wouldn't P2B joining the PDP? No, it's not possible. Okay, that's one is not possible. Yes, it's not possible. Like I said, it's not possible. If P2B wants to be the vice president of Atiku Abubakar, he better does it alone, not with me. Oh, yes. And I'm serious about it. And why am I saying so? A man is approaching 80 years. 80 years. And you're talking about, by 2027, how old will he be? There is no other younger person. You know what Wole Soyinka said? He said, when I went to Aso Rock, I told the president not to run. That I had told you not to run. He said it. He said Atiku. It was based on age. There was nothing personal. Babangida said he would prefer anybody that is younger to become president. And then you're saying, after our fighting in 2023, and P2B had a chance of being a VP, and he did not become a VP, and in 2027, he will now go back when the man has degenerated more in age and in capacity, then he will now go back to become VP. And then you want Kenneth Okonkwo to say what? No, what will I tell Nigerians? So if the coalition is going to be based on justice, they get men of integrity and character to lead the party first and ensure party discipline and ideology, and then get presidential candidates that are younger, that are people of character, capacity, and, competence. Why not? Atiku should be a father now, a statesman that should be thinking about the next generation, not the next election. Not a candidate. For what? What has he not achieved? Is it a small thing to be a vice president of a country? The man has achieved practically everything. God has blessed him. He should not stretch the luck too far. Okay. I'm sure he has heard you. I want you to be able to get, what time is so far spent. I mean, I want you to be able to get your thoughts on a lot of the things that are going on in the country. Of course, everyone has been talking about. Just in a few, if you can shorten responses, with the suspension of Betta Edu, let's start with that one. It's brought up the conversation about intervention programs in general. Yes. I know a lot of lawyers who are against the concept of intervention programs at all. What do you? And of course, we've seen the president suspend the NSIPs. Yes. What do you make of that humanitarian affairs minister situation and the suspension of social investment programs in the country? The concept of that program is corruption. So you're among those. I suspected you'd be among those lawyers. No, it ought not to have been there in the first place. If you wanted to give palliatives to Nigerians, the best thing is you wouldn't have removed oil subsidy. Because everybody in Nigeria would have been enjoying that palliative. So you think subsidy, the presence of subsidy in itself, yes, was a palliative? Yes, of course. That's why it's called subsidy. So why are you taking away the subsidy that Nigerians would have been enjoying, and you're replacing it with subsidy that you'll be sharing money to your ministers in the name of helping poor people? This is one minister got 438 million. Hold on, before we start to say figures that we cannot. No, it is there in the open. Are you absolutely telling us right now that you are against the removal of fuel subsidy? Let me tell you, the first thing I said was I do not support subsidy. And it is in the sense that we ought not to be paying subsidy in the first place. How can a nation that is about the 6th largest producer of oil in the world be paying subsidy? That's an indictment. That shows the incompetence and corruption. So I was not against subsidy in the sense that it is being used to help people. I was against it that we ought not to have been paying it. So we should do the right thing to make us not to pay it, which is repairing our refineries, selling those ones that are public
Okay, so removing the fuel subsidy.
Yes. It is punishment on the people when you don't have alternative. Then you're talking about palliative. What do you mean by palliative? If you want to give palliatives, don't remove the subsidy because it's palliative in its own, which will have positive effect in the country. You don't remove the palliative that will have positive effect and start sharing the loot among your ministers. So I told them when they removed it, I said, you've made a mistake because you would have destroyed your economy. That's why I told them they should be careful in coming out of subsidy. I campaigned against subsidy in the sense that it is corruption and incompetence that made us to be paying it in the first place. When we have 4 refineries, when Dangote is almost completing the refinery. So why do you remove it at this time? When you are at the end of it, you would have sustained the subsidy, ensure that all this money you're borrowing, you're not borrowing it to have 100 cars following you. You're not borrowing it to give 5 billion naira to your wife to eat. You're not borrowing it to give 15 billion naira to repair the house of the VP.
There is quite
You're
a
not
lot.
borrowing it to give 20
quite a
billion
lot that
naira
this has
to
brought
the
out
chief
into the society. I mean, there's a lot that has happened since removal of fuel subsidy.
Absolutely.
Especially with the economy
and
with the
collapsing.
Nigerian people. And I want you to get
Naira
your thoughts before we go. We want you to be able to find out your thoughts on, on President Tinubu, reducing the cost of governance, showing the Nigerian people. You don't believe it? It is
optics. We're talking about reduction of the cost of governance.
60%. It's a
Let him first of all reduce the number of his ministers to 37. What is he doing with 48? Optics. You say you reduced it. No, he didn't reduce the cost. He reduced the number of people following officers. So what you just need to do is to double your trip, and you will achieve the same cost.
Okay.
Now, optics. You suspended a minister. Suspension is not a punishment. They suspended one accountant general that they say he took 109 billion. Later, he has been turbaned to be the high chief in his place. They suspended one central bank governor. From there, he proceeded to become an emir of Kano. They removed him as emir of Kano, suspended, banished. From there, he became a Khalifa.
These are all optics. You're not
prosecute and convict. Apart from that, optics.
Why haven't you run for political office?
No, I have aspired before to be a governor.
Okay.
And I refused to go in to do the primary election. I had aspired to be a member of the House of Representatives. The situation was not clean enough for me to go in.
What about now?
Now, I am fighting for a new Nigeria. You have to secure the ground first before looking for the mats. That is why I looked for a politician that I believe that has what it takes to bring a new Nigeria. Can't you see I'm focusing on the presidency? Because if we don't get the president right in Nigeria, we will not get anything right. The reason is because we have either rightly or wrongly evolved a political tradition where the elected people are the leaders of the political party. Immediately, they are elected. Now, the president has all it takes to change Nigeria. That's why I'm concentrating on God giving us the right candidate that will give us a new Nigeria. For now, my personal ambition is secondary to the pursuit for a new Nigeria.
What do you
if I want to run.
If you want to run.
They would want to seek compromises from me, which I'm not ready to give.
Who's they? The Labour Party?
Politicians. And the political collective.
The political class.
Absolutely. Now, when they seek such conditions from you, when I wanted to run for the governor, I knew what some people were telling me.
What kind of conditions are these?
If you want to be recruited as a politician, come in. And you will know better.
No, thank you.
It's not something I wish to share with the journalists.
No, but for people out there who are probably thinking, I can do this. If there is something out there,
people will come to you. Some rightly, some wrongly, some altruistically, selflessly, some very selfishly. And I am not ready to compromise my principles and my ideologies. I'm not ready to do that. So my political ambition, knowing that there are certain things I'm not willing to cave into, is secondary now to my fight for a new Nigeria.
Well, we do have to wrap up here, but I really enjoyed talking to you.
Me too.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, for being with us on Political Paradigm. Good luck.
Thank you.
With all you have ahead of you, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Me too.
We have been speaking with actor, columnist, and politician Kenneth Okonkwo. And we would love to hear your thoughts on today's conversation on social media. Join the conversation on channelstv.com. Leave your comments, you know, respectfully, of course. And let's continue to push until the accountability question is answered. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kayla Magwa. See you next time.